Welcome back. Tonight, we're actually going to do things a little bit differently. So, many of you do not know who's behind the camera most of the time, right, for our podcast. So, his name is Jose Medrano. He's from Medrano Studio. And I thought it'd be a little bit interesting tonight if we flipped the script a little bit. So, Jose, welcome. Thank you for being the host tonight. Hopefully, go easy on me tonight. But he's actually behind the bar. So let's see what Jose has in store for us tonight.
Yeah, listen, from behind the camera to behind the bar, I need to be behind something.
Behind something.
But yeah, honestly, you know what? I saw the bar here and I thought some of the best conversations happen over some drinks behind the bar here at Ladyfingers, beautiful place. So thought this would be a cool setup for us to talk and dive deep into who is Kaefer Garcia. Which brings me to my very important, very important burning question that I've gotten. Actually, I've been asked it several times. Where does the name Kaefer come from?
Well, a lot of people through my childhood would call me Kiefer, right? And they weren't that far off. My parents in the 1980s, apparently there was a movie called Lost Boys. Kiefer Sutherland, who's the son of Donald Sutherland. My parents loved Donald Sutherland as an actor. But Kiefer starred in that movie, The Lost Boys. He recently did 24, the TV series. But they liked the name Kiefer, so they changed the I in Kiefer to an A, and they got Kaefer. I haven't met another Kaefer in my life.
So you like that?
I do because it was different, and I think it's something where they're like, "Oh, it's that guy with a different name," right? And aside from being a lawyer in a courtroom, people kind of that sticks with them, whether it's Kiefer, Kaefer, or some variation of that. It was nice being a little bit different growing up, right? I embraced it.
So start at the beginning. Where were you born? Tell me your life as a child a little bit. Your first interests.
Born in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Not a lot of people know that. So south from here, but grew up in Secaucus, New Jersey. Grew up in a traditional Latino family, right? Child of immigrants, middle child. So people can say they can tell I'm a middle child, but loving family. But I saw a lot of struggles that we went through from an immigrant family, right? So I think that was the beginning of me understanding where I kind of would want the future to seem like, right? A kid from immigrant parents growing up in Secaucus, New Jersey, believe it or not, we were one of the first Spanish families living there. And my first language was Spanish. And there was no ESL program when I went to school. So I learned English in pre-K.
I had the same experience, except I think it was kindergarten. Just go straight, dive in the deep end. I don't know how I learned.
Yeah.
How do you remember?
I remember that kids didn't want to play with me. Later on, they became good friends. And it was a small town, Secaucus, at that time. And it was a learning experience, but I think I'm grateful for it because I was forced to learn. I was forced to acclimate, and it was always good to come home back to a loving family home to encourage me to do that, right?
I think that always automatically allows you to see people are living two different worlds at once, even in the same place. So I don't know if you had that experience.
100%, 100%. A lot of times I would say, Mom, Dad, like, why do they do things differently than we do? And there weren't a lot of Latino families to look to share that experience. But I'm very grateful for growing up where I grew up in Secaucus. Yeah.
So take me through the rest of your years, teenage years. When is the first moment where attorney even the possibility of becoming an attorney pops into your head?
I'm proud to say that my dad, I grew up, my dad being a truck driver, would wake up at 4 a.m., load up a truck and deliver stuff in New York City and come home at 4 p.m. and come play soccer with us, with my brother and I. And my mom, I proudly say it, I would help my mom clean offices to start out while she was going to college, right? So going through that experience, I realized that I wanted to make possible what they would tell me all the time. Kaefer, and they would tell my brothers, your next generation should do better than we did, right? And it popped in my head for the first time where I saw the struggles of immigrants being here, right? Legalizing the different, like you touched upon just a moment ago, lifestyles of families. And I knew that I wanted to be a part of the legal system where people look like me as well, right? So that was a big thing for me. And I said, I trust the legal system even until this day. If I do my part and someone else does their part and someone in a robe does their part too, then maybe, just maybe, some things can work out.
And tell us exactly where your background, what countries.
So my mom's from Colombia, and my dad's from Honduras, and yeah, that made for a great mix, Central America, South America, and also very different perspectives in those countries, right? But very grateful from where I come from.
So, baleadas or arepas?
Empanadas,
I don't
arepas,
know what you would
empanadas,
choose.
yeah. Baleadas, always recommend people. Some people have never tasted baleadas. Definitely get some. They're amazing, especially tortillas from Central America. Amazing. But also, you grew up eating empanadas, arepas, sancocho. So definitely had the best of both areas.
So you were eating good, to say the
I
least.
was eating good. Believe it or not, I was a chubby kid. I mean, I was a chubby kid. I think soccer helped with that. We played soccer together. But I think that soccer helped because I'd be a chubbier kid than I was. Yeah.
I'm trying to get you back on the field, man.
Oh yeah,
At
definitely.
old age still.
Definitely, definitely.
All right, so keep going with the journey. When does when does it feel real? Or was it just always in your head and you were driven through this one goal?
I think going back to that whole experience of having to be outspoken, having to acclimate to my surroundings, my first bit of public speaking, I think, helped a lot. I had to be confident in who I was, understand my identity, right? Especially in Secaucus, and again, amazing town. I'm grateful for I grew up, but it also helped shape me. And my first experience public speaking, I was Martin Luther King for a fifth grade play. Had to memorize the "I Have a Dream" speech, and I did a pretty good job. Memorized the whole thing, had a standing ovation, and I said, "This isn't so bad." A lot of people can say maybe, I like being in the limelight. I know a lot of people watching this will say yes, and me talking, but public speaking. And then I said, how can I apply that skill to help people? I always knew from a very young age I wanted to be able to do something that would change people's lives on a daily basis. Um, and that's where the idea of being a lawyer came up. And the first thing I thought about was being a prosecutor. But at the age of 7, I remember I wrote an essay in school. But after a few years, I realized that's not where I wanted to be.
Why?
Because I truly believe that when I say our people, minorities, not necessarily just minorities, but poor people, depending on the socioeconomic class and all that, they need good representation, people that care, right? And I truly believe that I show my clients each and every day that I care. It's not just another file. So for me, I thought the biggest difference I can make would be in defense work and representing people that look like my parents, people that look like me, people that had the same experience as me, who might not understand that legal system. That information is not out there, and I wanted to be able to try to connect those two worlds.
I think that's important to know. So when a new potential client comes to you, someone for you to represent, you see them as your mom and dad.
100%, 100%. I have to, because I always tell people in the consults usually, I understand where you're coming from. My parents, my dad was a truck driver. My mom cleaned offices. Um, I kind of can relate to you, right? We went through it. We can help you be informed while you go through this process.
I think that's important because, when you go, it's a scary process of selecting an attorney.
Very scary.
So I think it's important for people to know where your motivations lie and how you see your business.
100% our people are getting scammed left and right. There's a lot of scams, and it's heartbreaking. And I'm just talking about Latino community, but the African community, the Eastern European communities, um, people need to see themselves represented in the legal system as well. And I think that's crucial.
So what would you say are like, when something happened, they need to find an attorney. What's your top 1, 2 things maybe that you see people make a mistake in finding a new attorney?
I would say I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? You're not going to satisfy everybody's expectations, thought processes. Even in our office, we have male attorneys, female attorneys, right? So it has to be a good fit for you. So do a consult, meet your attorney in person, see what they're like speaking to you on a across the table type of basis. It's very important. And then 2, know that you're trusting somebody with your journey in the legal system, that's exactly what you're doing. You're trusting them. So let them represent you to the best of their ability. Trust them after you've vetted them.
And who should reach out to you?
So we deal with family law cases, so domestic violence, divorces, child support, child custody. We also deal with immigration, deport defense, family-based applications, and then we also deal with real estate. You're buying a home, selling a home. So those are the type of people that should reach out to us, right, by practice area. But the ideal client is someone who wants to be served well in the legal system, someone who likes an attorney who informs them of the next steps in the case, and who sets realistic expectations. Like I tell my clients in the consults, if you're going to hire me for me to regurgitate what you want to hear, that's not who I am. I'm going to be very honest from the very first step and set expectations realistically.
We talked about the emotional side that motivates you, your dad being a truck driver, you cleaning offices with your mom. But what are the technical and extra qualifications of your law firm that people should want to use you for?
Number one, experience, right? My partner and I, we have more than 10 years of experience in our fields. My partner, Stephanie O'Neill, she is a court certified mediator for divorce cases and family law cases. So she had specific training for that. She exclusively practices in that field. And myself and the rest of the staff, we're bilingual. It's very crucial for people to find the comfort in their own language, right? And then we've been recognized in our field, right? Super lawyers, rising stars. We've been in this area. We know the court system. We know the different county courts, the municipal courts. We are known in our field. So that brings an added value to the client because you don't have some random attorney walking into these courts, but you have attorneys who have been recognized, and we practice in these courts on a regular basis.
Tell us a little bit about the history of the law firm. When did it start? When did you make that decision? It's not a decision everyone makes, right?
No, I think one of the things that people who are close to me get to know me understand that once I'm challenged, it's no going back. So I was in a partnership for 5 years from 2015 to 2020 in Clifton, New Jersey. And then at a certain point, I made a business decision that I wanted to develop a certain practice area, which was family law. And it was February 2020, actually my birthday. And pandemic was about to hit. And everybody around me said, are you sure you want to start a firm right before what's about to come? And I said, if it's now, I'm never going to do it if it's not now. So I did it. I believed in the idea I had of what type of firm. And it was a firm born right before the lockdown in March 2020. So February 2nd, 2020, Garcia Law was founded. And I didn't look back. I started in a small office. It was me in the beginning with one paralegal. And thank God, I can't complain. It's 2025. We have 4 attorneys, 3 paralegals, and we're looking for an administrative assistant right now. So I can't complain. It was born out of, I think, a need for me to pursue what I always wanted to do and develop the firm that I wanted to develop that touches upon the demographic that I want to help.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense to me because, growing up, you had to create what wasn't there, what you wanted to see, which was a law firm that represented Latinos and was bilingual, and that's what you've created. So congrats, man.
No, thank you. I mean, just like this place we're here, right? We're in Ladyfingers. Like Thomas was telling us, it's a bit different vibe in Bloomfield, New Jersey. What it brought, kind of like what we wanted to do, right? We wanted to create a firm where people felt like they were taken care of, and I could say one of the things that we distinguish ourselves from other firms in the area is a lot of people say you go in and speak to the paralegal for an intake, a consult. No, you meet with me or one of the other attorneys. So we want to always strive to have that passion, that connection with the client, so they are always well informed and feel well represented.
And I know we've talked a lot about bilingual and Latino community, but what does, I'm sure you represent everyone. Talk to us about like who comes in the door, who do you feel like you're able to help? Can anyone come in?
Anyone can come in. We help blue collar, white collar. We help out your local plumber. We help out a CEO in the city. We help out anyone who seeks good legal advice, right? So you'll have, like I said, anyone from your local plumber to an individual who wants to get divorced and earns, 7 figures in the city and lives in New Jersey, right? We represent husbands and wives. We represent immigrants, non-immigrants. We represent buyers and sellers, right, of homes. So it's really anyone who is in our area who is seeking good legal counsel.
I think one thing that's I can see you do so differently is you really support the community that's around you. You know, the community you're in. I mean, even with this podcast, we go to different coffee shops. We're in a bakery, bar. Where does that come from?
That comes from, I think, back in Secaucus, where it was a tight-knit community. It started at home with my family. It starts with my faith. And it was cultivated through the close-knit community I grew up in, right, in Secaucus, and the friend group I have, right? And I think that it was always instilled in my head and in our household that the next generation should do better. We should provide, be a resource to our the people around us. So from our annual scholarship to highlighting local coffee shops to highlighting our local people we do business with. I think it's crucial to highlight everybody around us because everybody has something to give, something to provide value with. And we have to highlight that with the people around us because if they're helping me, why can't they help our viewers? Why can't they be a resource for you as well?
I think that's important because it's not just words; it's actions, right?
Yeah.
Are there some stories, some clients you've had, people you've represented that stick out in your mind as like, they maybe in your heart, they stayed in your heart with you, they moved you, they maybe changed you, that you whatever you can share.
Um, it's funny you say that because we recently had a client who passed this month, February, and divorce client, and it hit hard because it was a long process in the family law case, and in these type of cases, you get to see people at their best, people at their worst, how people change throughout the process. And you really get to know people in depth, right? Um, and this individual really will always stick with me because um, it's it's someone who I've seen vulnerable. I saw being really strong. You get to share moments with clients where you connect with them on a level that many people don't get a chance to connect with, not even their spouse or their kids. So I think that it's something that's always going to stick with me. And when he passed, it hit hard. It hit hard. Our staff saw it, how hard it hit us, and the part that hit hard was because we were almost at the very end of the journey, legal journey. And I always told him we'd grab a drink, whether it's coffee or anything else, when all this settled. We never got a chance to do that. So it's like an unfinished journey, right? So it'll always stick with me, and I really grew to appreciate him.
I think that probably shows how close you get to these people and how much you care about each case, huh?
100%. It's hard to explain. You have to be in that relationship, and it's not always just a client, right? It's someone that trusts you with big decisions and someone who trusts you to see them being vulnerable. And when you have that type of relationship, you really get to see someone's character.
I think you think of an attorney as like someone who's like the pages, right? The writing, the and all that. But it's interesting to hear about this side of it. Maybe not everyone has it.
If I could write a book, maybe one day I'll write a book, right? But he'll definitely have a chapter in that book because he'll always stay with me, and it's never a dull day. It's never a dull day. There's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows, and some people just stick with you.
Immigration's obviously big in the news right now. Is there a case, an immigration case you've had that sticks out to you?
There are many. The one thing that really touched me personally was asylum case from Peru last year. Suffered persecution in Peru, traveled here, and we won the case in asylum in Newark, New Jersey immigration court. And to see us step out of the room and have their daughter hug me and say, "Thank you, thank you for helping us stay in this country because we can't go back." She was 8. Um, those moments are the ones that are worth it. Like I told you right after this, I gotta go draft a legal brief for an asylum case as well, and those are the moments that make it all worth it. And some people will never comprehend how an 8-year-old child can comprehend herself the magnitude of the consequences that can come, right? That can transpire. And that blows my mind. At 8, I wasn't worrying about that, thank God. Um, but some of these kids nowadays are so into it about what their parents are going through. And like I said from before, if I can help touch someone's life on a daily basis and make that difference, then maybe that child's going to become something big in this country, right? But I had a small part to play in that.
And I know every case is complicated, there's many sides to it, but with situations now, people that are at home afraid of maybe going out because of their immigration status, should they call you? What can they do? What are 2 or 3 things that you would say to somebody, if they're at home afraid, what should they do?
Do not let the fear lead to bad decisions. It's heartbreaking when people call our office and say, I spoke with someone through WhatsApp. I found my attorney through Facebook, and that's fine. Not the WhatsApp, the Facebook. Um, Go meet your attorney. Do not send $5,000, $8,000 without meeting your attorney. And it's a lot of scams, a lot of fraud. And I would say make sure that fear, and I know everyone wants to get legal advice, they want to get informed, but do it the right way. Vet your attorney. Another thing I want to highlight in that aspect is notarios. Notary publics, notarios are not attorneys, and they will not always do the right thing. They might have good intentions, but do not practice in the field, and they can make mistakes that we can't repair. But I would tell people again, do not let the fear lead to bad decisions.
I think it's pretty clear, the emotional connection you have to divorce and family law. Talk to me about real estate law because that's another big part of your business. What's your connection to that?
100%. I mean, real estate is a big practice area in our firm. Um, I think that's a different perspective because right there we focus on the collaboration with the realtors, right? Whether they have a client who's buying or selling a property, we always try to make sure that we connect well with the realtors. And usually, lately, the way that I start working with new realtors is because I see them at events like the networking event we had here at the Brookdale, where I help cultivate those networking opportunities for them. But also sometimes they call me and say, "Hey, I have a friend who's a realtor. There's no Spanish-speaking attorney in real estate. Can you help them out?" And they try our office out, and then they stick with us because they like our service. So it's something that we offer a bit different. There's not a lot of Spanish-speaking attorneys who explain things in their native language to clients, but also the English-speaking clients. We know the area well, and we work really well with the realtors who want to put in good work in representing their clients.
I think that's so important as somebody who's maybe looking for attorney to know that the amount of referrals that you get, because not only is it I'm getting clients because I'm marketing, but it's this person used me, had such a good experience that they recommend me, and I think you get a lot of that.
I would say before we started doing any marketing, this firm is founded on word of mouth, right? We go to local churches, we get free consults, and then someone tries us out and they refer us to their cousins and friends. In this immigration wave that we're seeing, we've done a lot of seminars, and people say, I loved your seminar. I want to try you out because my friend did an application with you, or you helped their family. So word of mouth for us is huge. And then, of course, comes the marketing. But it's never a bad thing to get a phone call and say, hey, so and so referred me because you helped them with their case. And that speaks volumes.
We went straight from Kaefer, being a young kid, but we skipped over college a little bit.
Right.
Obviously, law school is a really important part of the story. What was your college and law school experience like?
I was a bit different. A funny story is I ended up going to Rutgers Newark undergrad by mere chance. I was actually playing on a Jersey City team that we played together on, and a coach from NJCU was coming to watch me play, and I want to go to NJCU because I had a great team at that time, and I didn't know Rutgers Newark. Well, Rutgers had a campus in Newark. I never knew. That head coach ended up going to Rutgers Newark, and I ended up playing for him. But I say that because things happen for a reason, and I had a unique story where I went to a campus the first day that I didn't even know existed, but I was so focused on soccer, and I knew Rutgers had a good name, but as I started being involved in campus, I think it still is the most diverse campus in the United States. Um, I was where I was meant to be. It was a place where I was able to cultivate my giving back to the community. I started a nonprofit while I was there. I organized a few events on campus, and the ability to be in a diverse campus that embraced that diversity, embraced other immigrant children that came from immigrant parents. I'm sorry, was crucial because that journey helped open my eyes. And when I got to campus, I noticed a tower across the street was the Rutgers Law School. And they had a certain program, a specific program I wanted to get into that was for first generation law students. Because I looked around and my parents' history, as I explained before, it wasn't somewhere I can say, mom, dad, uncle, aunt, grandpa, how was your law school experience? Where should I go? How do I take the LSAT? What should I prepare for? How do I budget for it? These are all questions I knew nothing about. And Rutgers Law had a program that helped people like me ease into the process. So being that close to the law school campus and being across the street and being in that college environment, I think was meant to be. It's just hard to explain, but it was meant to be.
What tips would you give to a kid thinking about it or about to enter law school?
You gotta want it. You gotta want it. You gotta know that all these sleepless nights, all these hard assignments, all the sacrifices you're gonna make is gonna be worth it in the end, right? Don't go in law school because I want to try it out. Do an internship before that. Work at a law office in college before that, because it is costly, but also you're gonna be put through obstacles, and I don't mean that in a scary way, but it's the truth. While your friends who graduated college are going to party or earning a good salary right out of college, you're not, right? And it's the next 3 or 4 years where you're working hard to attain something, to have the ability to pass the bar. So my advice to college students or people in law school or going to law school is know that you want it and make sure that you're willing to, or you're ready to make the sacrifice as far as time. Relationships might suffer, and your own family might not understand. I was lucky enough where my family understood the sacrifices I was making, but understand that that's what's ahead, and you'll come out at the end and it'll be positive. But to get through that, you have to make sure you want it from the beginning.
And how was your law school experience?
It was amazing. It was tough. You really get to know who your friends are. Um, you have to make sure you surround yourself with good people around you. Like I said, at Rutgers Law, I had the opportunity to be in a program where I was surrounded by people who were like me, not just by race or, it was also socioeconomic class. We had people from Ohio who was Caucasian and was in this program. We had people from New Jersey, from California, and to be in a group who understands or who understood where you come from and what are the next steps, to do that together is crucial. So I would say my law school experience was amazing, was fun, but also very challenging. Um, but again, I go back to I knew what I wanted. I knew since I was 7, so I knew I had to go through these obstacles to get to where I wanted to be. So just make sure that you know what you want. Yeah.
Now we see you a little bit the finished product, the seasoned vet, but a lot of experience, obviously. You know what you're doing. We all know that. Were there any funny stories in the beginning of your career? Were you ever nervous, things like that?
Nervous. Everybody, I would say in the legal field when you start your first court case and stuff like that, a bit nervous, yes. But this you see, if you want to call it a beard, whatever it is, I actually have it not because by choice, but because in the early days, my first court appearances, one time I went into court, I remember I was wearing a blue suit and a tie, and I walk in and I go up to the podium, and the judge says, "Oh, great, the Spanish interpreter's here." And from that point forward, I would want to say it was because of my baby face, right? Um, but I don't know what it was, right? I look Latin. I look young. Maybe I'm not an attorney, even though I was dressed the part. But it told me two things. One, I said I have to grow some facial hair. Maybe it makes a difference. And then two, I never want to be known because I look a certain part. I want to make sure I'm known because I have the knowledge and the capacity to represent clients at a high level. That's how I want to be distinguished. That's what I want people to think about when they see me walk into a courtroom.
For people that may not know, can you talk about the charity work you do and how important that is to you?
It's crucial. I think it was instilled, like I said, back in my household growing up, right? So we have our annual scholarship. Um, we do free consultations at certain places of worship in North Jersey. Whenever we see a hot topic issue like this past immigration wave, we do free seminars for schools in need, families in need who need that advice. And we're always looking to collaborate in our community, like the speed networking event. Our partner Stephanie O'Neill is having a moms event actually on Thursday this week for moms beyond the 9 to 5, monthly meetings like that for the community. So it's crucial for us because we are part of the community we live in, right? And the community should be well informed. If we have the opportunity to inform and instruct people, we want to take that opportunity because it's not something we just enjoy, but if we feel a responsibility to do that. So yeah, it's something that's very crucial to me and to our office.
Somebody's just coming across this video. They're seeing an attorney in a bakery bar in Bloomfield, New Jersey. Why should they follow Garcia Law on Instagram?
Because we're very different than most firms, right? We have our legal law firm, you know, the day to day, the immigration cases, divorce cases, real estate cases, but we also bring a different field to things, right? We have our events that we do with the community, speed networking events, collaborations with local business partners, but we also have our scholarship, right? And we also have our podcast. We like to highlight local community business owners, especially in coffee shops, highlight people we work with. We had a councilman from Jersey City that we interviewed. So we bring a different type of feel to what a local law firm offers. And I think we take pride in that. And if you're seeing this video and thinking, oh no, they're just a law firm, no, how can we collaborate with you? How can we work with your community, your place of worship, where your kids go to school? What can we offer to make our community a better place, whether it's virtually or physically in person?
What is the Garcia Law Annual Scholarship?
It's an opportunity to give back of what I've received, right? Throughout even elementary school, high school, college. I'm the product of scholarships, local people, some attorneys who've donated their funds to help people like me growing up. So when I received one of those scholarships, actual local attorney who I actually had a case with, not too far away from here, told me, "Don't thank me, or if you're going to thank me, do it by action. And when it's your turn, when you pass that bar and you have a legal job, give back." And it stuck with me. And that's why we have the annual scholarship. We usually award it to graduating high school seniors who are applying to college. They usually write an essay, and we pick one or two winners each year. And local partners that we do business with donate their funds as well and match our donation. So we're very proud of that, and it's something that we just keep on giving back from what I've received. And just for people who are interested in that, please give a follow on our Instagram page at Garcia Law NJ, or visit our website www.garcialawnj.com, because every year we post information about that scholarship and how to apply and important deadlines.
You know, I think for anyone that's heard your story so far, I think it's safe to say you're living your dream. At least, you know, I could say that. But where's the rest of the dream now? What do you see for the future of yourself and Garcia Law?
I see a firm that changes with the times. I see a firm that continues to represent local people in our community. And I see a firm that's growing, a firm that's adding to the team, a firm that still takes pride in what we can offer, but also is entrenched in the community and growing into the point where we want to be recognized as one of the best firms in New Jersey in our practice areas. And I think to achieve that is just amplifying our influence, right? Our outreach, being that firm that still does community service, being that firm that provides good client service, but also being that firm that understands and changes with the times. I think that's crucial to the world we live in now as a law firm.
Well, Kaefer, thank you so much. I think, you know, it's clear you're like a pillar of the community. I've seen it. You know, you bring a lot of people together, and I think that's great. So thanks for joining me, you know, my deep bar conversations here.
By the way, I think he made that. He told me he made that. I think he did.
I definitely made it.
but I don't know if I want to try it. But maybe Thomas will have you back.
Yeah, maybe I'll do some guest appearances and we can have another podcast.
Of course, I'd love to.
All right, Kaefer, thanks so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.